Kumusta? Hello everyone, my name is Elmer. Today I'm going to show you how easy it is to build an AccelByte Extend App. In this video, we'll create a simple tournament system from scratch, using dive containers, MCPs, and a streamlined workflow that takes you from zero to production in just minutes. To get started, make sure you have an AccelByte AGS account, either the pre-shared cloud or the private cloud version. Log in with your credentials, then confirm that the extend feature is enabled for your account. This guide also assumes that you already set up a game namespace. If you haven't, please check our documentation for step-by-step instructions. Since this project needs a database, we're in luck. AccelByte is currently building a managed NoSQL database for extenders. If you would like access to it, feel free to reach out. Here, I'm navigating to my studio namespace and setting up the NoSQL database for my app. After a short startup period, it's ready to use in the game namespace. Now we need to set up some credentials that our tools will use to authenticate to AGS. I will show you how to do it for both shared and private cloud. First, let's set up client credentials for Extend CLI. It's a tool that will help us deploy and operate Extend app seamlessly from our dev environment. For shared cloud, go to your game namespace and open the IAM clients page. Here, we'll create the client credentials for the Extend CLI tool. Make sure to save the client secret because this is the only time you'll be able to view it. Next, I'm setting up the permissions for this client. Now for private cloud, in your game namespace, go to the IAM clients page. Here's where we create the client credentials for the Extend CLI tool. Be sure to copy and save the client secret as well. The way we set up permissions is slightly different. In the end, we're granting the same level of access. Now, one of our MCPs will also need its own credentials. This is because it will make backend API calls on your behalf to help you integrate your app with AGS. For shared cloud, create the client the same way as before. Note the permissions for this client. Here is the same setup for private cloud. Now, we need to create the app. Open the Extend page in the admin portal and fill out the required fields. You also need to connect the NoSQL database to this app so it has access to the data it will use. Now, it's time to start developing. and we don't have to start from scratch. AccelByte provides templates and sample apps that we can use as a foundation for our tournament app. Here, I've chosen the Extend Service extension template since our app will need REST endpoints that can be called from the game client. One neat feature to mention, these templates come with dev containers. That means you don't need to set up or modify your local environment. It's ready to use. You can run the dev containers either locally or in your browser using GitHub Codespaces. I'll show you both options. Inside the dev container, you'll find Extend CLI tool, two AccelByte MCP servers, and various VS Code tasks all set up and ready to go. To work on this locally, first clone the template. Make sure you have VS Code and Docker installed, since we'll be using these tools on your local machine. You'll also need dev containers extension for VS Code, and of course, Git. Once you've cloned the project, open it in VS Code. It should prompt you to reopen the project in a container. If it doesn't, you can trigger this action manually. On the first start, it may take a little time to initialize. This is completely normal. Once it's ready, we'll use the predefined VS Code task to set up a .env file. I use the Ctrl-Shift-P shortcut and select Run Task to start it. Next, I fill in my base URL and namespace. I also add my Extend CLI credentials. If you're testing or developing locally, you can set auth tuples to skip token validation. Finally, fill in your URL-based path. You already have one in mind. Now, you can see that the dev container already has two MCP servers configured. AI agents like GitHub Copilot can make use of these. The Extend SDK MCP only needs to be started. It helps the AI understand which SDK functions to use whenever your app code needs to call AGS services. For AGS API MCP, we need to update the configuration. Fill in your URL and the credentials we set up earlier. AI will use this to make direct calls to AGS services, for example, to check statistics already configured. Once it's started, we're all set. Alternatively, instead of cloning the repo locally, you can open it directly in GitHub Codespaces after forking the repo. The great thing about this approach is that you only need a browser to work. The setup is very similar to the local dev environment. Create the .env file, fill in your URL and credentials, set up and start the MCP service. Now, I'll try to get the AI to follow a spec I prepared earlier. It outlines the tournament app I want to build. You'll notice that AI agents still need a human engineer to guide them and correct mistakes. One tip for anyone coding with AI, review everything. and ask to write plenty of tests. Make sure every piece of code it generates actually works. In my dev environment, I can use MongoDB to simulate the extend.db. It's practically the same. Now, let's say I want to add a win count to the player stats. I can ask the AI to use the AGS API MCP to see if any stats are already set up. Since there aren't any yet, I'll need to create them. Or better yet, I'll ask the AI to use the AGS API MCP server to create it for me. Then, I can ask the AI to check what permissions my app requires to see if the client already has them. It doesn't. So I ask the AI again to add the necessary permissions to the client. Now, I want to test this in a real agents environment. But first, to make testing easier, I'll tell the AI to disable auth for this app via the environment variable configuration. Done. This dev container already comes with the VS Code task to build, push, and deploy extend apps. But did you know we can actually ask the AI to trigger those tasks? Notice that I still need to fill in the task parameters up top. Alright, that's done. Let's test it. As we can see, the app is up and running. Now let's navigate to the app's URL. The API docs are showing. The endpoint is working. Great. Now let's try creating a tournament. Success. And it's fully queryable. You can test your app using API docs, Postman, or even a game client. Whatever works best for you. Now that you know how to build an Extend app, good luck creating your next one. Don't forget to check out our blog, documentation, and sample apps. Maraming salamat. Paalam. Elmer here, signing off.